if you are spiraling on your phone at 4 in the morning while your baby is nursing on you and you come across this video, this is for you. I have this whole page that is copied from a note in my phone. This is stuff I found to be true for me. I am not a doctor, I am not a nurse or a lactation consultant, but this is all the information that I've got from my experience, from my lactation consultants, from my son's pediatrician, who is also a certified lactation consultant, and from my mother-baby nurses. And one of my aunts is also a mother-baby nurse, and she has helped me a lot too in this process. Graham and I have now been nursing for over a year and a half, and though we are on our last days, I'm sure of it, it has been so special, and I hope that any information that I share with you is helpful to you and helpful for your journey while nursing your sweet little baby. We have Daniel Tiger on in the other room, being my co-parent currently. My first tip is to drink a ton of water. I know that it doesn't sound glamorous and it sounds pretty basic, but drinking enough water is really what's going to help you produce enough for your baby. Your body will need that to help itself and to help your baby. My nurse said to drink 3 hospital bottles a day, which is just crazy to me, and in the winter I have a hard time doing that, but that's about 96 ounces of water a day. So try to get that water in. When I can't get that water in, I drink the Body Armor Lights because I think they're delicious and they're really easy for me to drink pretty quickly and try to replenish those fluids. So that is a tip that you could take. Another tip is to make sure you're eating enough. This kind of goes with drinking enough. Make sure you're eating enough calories. I would suggest not going on any diets, not going on anything that's going to be restrictive, because your body needs that to make the milk for your baby. And if you do that, you will inevitably see a dip in production. My next tip is, in the beginning, when you're trying to increase your supply and you're feeding baby every 2 hours or on demand, pump 10 to 15 minutes after baby is done nursing. When babies are new and fresh to the world, they tend to be extra sleepy. So if they fall asleep at the breast, you're still able to tell your body to make that milk. I would nurse Graham on each side, and then once I was done nursing him and he would fall asleep or he would go to dad, I would pump for 10 to 15 minutes just to tell my body to continue to produce that milk. It's a really good way to increase your milk in the beginning if you're open to pumping. I know a lot of moms don't want to pump, but I was open to pumping and I wanted to do whatever I could to make sure that that milk was coming in more quickly, because I tend to be anxious, I guess. I tend to panic. After I went from pumping 10 to 15 minutes after each feed, I went to pumping only twice a day, and that would be in the morning after baby's first feed because I was always very full, and then at nighttime after baby went to bed. So I would get into bed, I would pump for 10 minutes, and usually it would just be to empty fully, or if I was fully empty, it would be to tell my body to continue to make just a little more milk. When you are trying to increase your milk, latch baby as much as possible, and even if you're empty, even if you think he or she may not be getting anything, just latch baby as much as possible. It'll teach your body to make more. Skin to skin always helps with that. Another tip is, if you feed your baby a bottle, always replace that feed with a pumping session. It's the only way your body will know to continue to make that milk for your baby. Otherwise, your body will think that your baby doesn't need it. My next note is that people will try to tell you to try so many different food things or pills or anything to increase your supply, but really when it comes down to it, it's so supply and demand based. If your baby needs milk and it nurses and tells your body to make more, your body will make more. But if baby gets distracted and isn't latching as long, or if you're going longer in between feeds, your body will reduce the supply that it's providing because it'll think that your baby doesn't need it. So the only way to increase that is to increase pumping sessions or nursing sessions, but consistency and doing that regularly is key. Your milk won't regulate for the first 11 to 12 weeks. In that beginning portion, that first 3-month portion, your milk will be really finicky. It won't take much for it to drop, and it'll be really difficult kind of to build that back up. So just do whatever you need to do in the beginning to maintain the milk that you've made. Don't follow the eat, play, sleep thing. And I tried to follow the eat, play, sleep rule and do a sleep training program. And it wasn't sleep training, but it was like setting up for sleep training in the future. And it was such a negative experience. My milk tanked, and it took over a week for me to get my milk back. And on top of it, I was so stressed because I felt like I wasn't giving my baby the gift of sleep. My baby was 4 weeks old, and I stressed out myself so much about it, which also didn't help with milk production because stress can affect that. Our babies are so much more efficient than pumps. So if you have dropped in supply and you feel like baby's not getting anything but they continue to nurse, that is okay. We almost never stop making milk. Even when we feel empty and there's barely anything coming out when we're pumping, our bodies are still learning to produce that and are still producing. So if baby is nursing for a long time and you're trying to get your milk back up, that's a good thing. Let baby nurse, let baby try to get that milk out because they are doing a better job than what your pump is showing. And that's the only way for your body to learn to make more. If you switch to giving formula at this point and you're not pumping as much or baby's not nursing as much, that's when your body will really think that baby doesn't need it. So you really do want to continue to pump and continue to nurse and know that even if it seems like baby's not getting much, they are still getting something, and that is really beneficial. Another point I want to make is there are so many people who say, nursing isn't painful. If it is painful, your latch is wrong. I want to say my latch with my son in the beginning was not wrong. We had a good latch and I was still in pain for almost 3 months. I was told that he had a high palate and that could make things a little more difficult, but I was in pain all the time. At a certain point, this is probably TMI, I was raw and my shirt was stuck to my skin. Like, it hurt so bad. And I kept thinking, well, something's wrong. And there was a little bit wrong. He had a high palate, but I couldn't control that. It takes a while for them to get used to the constant sucking, the constant irritation. Because Graham had a high palate, I would say 3 months, maybe longer than normal for them to hurt. But I just want you to be aware that it does take a little bit of time. I heard 2 weeks is about right. Again, who knows? One thing I did end up using, I should have pulled these out. I'll put a picture here if I can, but they were the Medela nipple shells, and it's just like a hard shell, which some people might not want to do this. Every time I asked, they said they couldn't see them in my bra, so I assumed that they were fine. Maybe they were just being nice to me because I needed it. Another thing I learned is that our body makes more milk in the morning than in the evening, which is just so crazy to me. But if you think about it, it really does make sense. So in the morning, your baby has kind of gone a longer time not nursing than normal. So in the morning, when they drink, milk is very hydrated. It's almost transparent. When you pump, it's a lot more see-through, and that's really helpful to rehydrate the baby, and that's the kind of milk you make in the morning. And then in the evening, your milk kind of slows down. It's not making as much volume-wise, but it's thicker and fattier and creamier, which is just so crazy to me that your body knows your baby's going to go a longer time without nursing over the nighttime hours. And so, I don't remember what I said. So your body knows your baby's going to go through a longer period of time where it's not nursing. So it wants to fill up on that fatty goodness for them. And I think that's just so incredible. I've also heard that because you're producing melatonin before bedtime, if you nurse baby before bedtime, your melatonin goes through your milk to your baby and gives them that melatonin, because in the beginning they don't have like the melatonin like we normally do. I don't know how accurate that is, but it makes logical sense to me, and I think if that is true, that is pretty incredible. It's just so amazing what our bodies can do for our babies, well, and ourselves. At about 8 months, my milk tanked, and I didn't really know why because I wasn't doing anything different. Obviously, we had introduced some foods in, but our schedule was pretty much the same, so it didn't make sense to me why it had tanked. And I was talking to the nurse about it at Graham's pediatrician appointment. And so she said, we could give formula, that kind of stuff. But then when the doctor came in, she had overheard it in the hallway, and she's a lactation consultant. So she was saying to me that at about 8 months, 7 months, whenever baby starts to become more mobile and starts being interested in crawling and moving around more, our milk changes because our bodies know our bodies know that they're getting into more germs, and so our bodies tend to revert back to more colostrum-like milk. Not exactly the same, like it's not that same color. I mean, I don't know, maybe it can change that color, but she said it becomes more dense and nutritious and full of antibodies for baby because our bodies can tell by baby nursing and the skin-to-skin contact what baby is picking up. So our bodies make more of those antibodies, and when it goes through our milk, our baby is more protected that way, which I just think is so fascinating. The sun is gone. One thing I learned is that cluster feeding is where your baby is basically attached to your boob all the time. When baby does this, they're teaching your body to make more milk, and it's typically because they're going through a growth spurt, or they're in pain, or they need comfort. And when they do that, your body really does respond very well to that and typically makes more milk that way. Though cluster feeding is kind of annoying, it's really beneficial. My ultimate fail-safe for increasing milk is to power pump. Power pumping is supposed to emulate cluster feeding, and what you do is you pump for 20 minutes, you take a break for 10 minutes, you pump for 10 minutes, you take a break for 10 more minutes, and then you pump for 10 more minutes. Now that takes an hour of your time. Like I said, it emulates cluster feeding. It teaches your body to make more milk. Now, again, you could try so many different things, but this is the one thing that I have found is tried and true in order to increase supply. My biggest encouragement that I can give you if you're trying to increase milk supply is to go easy on yourself. I learned that it takes 3 to 7 days for your body to see an increase in milk production. I kept trying things, and after a few days when it didn't work, I'd get annoyed and I'd try something else, and I kept switching things. But what I didn't know is that it does take 3 to 7 days for your body to increase supply, and you have to be consistent in those 3 to 7 days. I learned I'm a day 5 person. My body takes 5 days of consistent action to increase supply. So I just want you to try 1 or 2 things that you know may work for your body, or you want to see if they work for your body. And when you do those things, try them for 5 days, because that's what it took for me to see an improvement. And then if it doesn't work by 5 days, give yourself 2 more days. Be patient. Know that during that time you are doing what you can, you are moving towards your goal, and be patient with yourself. Be kind with yourself. That is it for today. I'm so glad that you stuck through this video with me. If you liked it, please like and subscribe. I'm going to be sharing more things about new motherhood that I wish I learned, and I hope that I can see you in the next one. Bye.